The Republicans are saying that the underbomber should have been called an enemy combatant and taken off to Guantanamo or a black site in Thailand or somewhere to be tortured. And Eric Holder, in defense, has written a letter to the Senate saying, listen, you guys don't seem to understand. I don't have the power to turn a U.S. person arrested on American soil over to the military. The Bush administration tried that twice, and they backed down both times and went ahead and indicted Padilla and indicted Almari rather than face the Supreme Court over it. There is no court-approved method for me doing this. And so, sorry, guys, the law is the law. But here's my question. Isn't he wrong? What about the Military Commissions Act of 2006 and of 2009? And don't they give the president the power, congressionally authorized power, to abduct Americans and turn them over to the military, Scott?
No, the difference is, was the person seized on U.S. soil? And if the answer is yes, he was seized on U.S. soil, then those two examples, Richard Reed and Almari, for instance, but as well as the Padilla case, make clear that you cannot do what the Republicans are arguing. That had he been seized overseas somewhere, there's a possibility of holding him and putting him through the military commissions process. But let's also stop and say, yeah, that option of military commissions trials exists in any event with respect to violations of the laws of war. Okay? So if you say somebody's an enemy combatant and you say they broke the laws of war, you can charge them before a military commission. You could also charge them if they violated crimes or violated the criminal law in a federal criminal court. These two things are different, and the laws that are involved are different laws, and it in fact is going to be easier in most cases to charge them with crimes rather than violation of the laws of war. Once you say the person is a combatant and they're breaking the laws of war, the criminalized activity in that area is fairly limited because they're entitled to use violence against people as long as they're acting against a legitimate target. But I think in any event here, Holder's point is, I'm doing exactly what Michael Mukasey, John Ashcroft, and Alberto Gonzalez did. Exactly the same, applying the same rules, applying the same standards, and behaving in the same way. You guys didn't say a word when they did the same things I'm doing. And he's right about that.
Yeah. Well, for utilitarian purposes, as far as how easy it is to get a conviction, the different, the vast amount of leeway that a prosecutor has, that's all kind of beside the point for the political argument, because the political argument is that soldiers are tougher than FBI agents. They wear green, not suits, and they can beat the hell out of somebody, in fact, tie them up and beat them to death and get away with it. And so that's who we need to turn this over to,
I think that's what they think, but that's just not true. And in fact, the rules that apply in the military commissions are not radically different from the rules that apply in U.S. federal criminal courts. The sentences that are handed down are not stronger than the sentences that are handed down in a federal criminal court. We actually have, a basis for judging these things. We have cases that have gone through the military commissions. We have outcomes. We have sentences. And we have a much larger number of counterterrorism prosecutions in the Bush era. I'm talking about just what the Bush Justice Department and the Bush Pentagon did. And if you put these things side by side, they got better results against terrorists and federal criminal courts than they got in the military commissions.
Well, and dozens of innocent framed up people as well.
Well,
they've had no problem whatsoever manufacturing cases. Well, no, they've had some problem.
On both sides, I would say, by the way. That's a problem. But my point here is just to say that we've got all these Republican political figures talking about this, and they assume as the basis for their comments facts that aren't facts.
Of course. Well, but they're Republicans, so it's part of that. Okay, so now one more thing real quick before I let you go. Durham's investigation. I know you know more than the rest of us. Do you hear that this may actually go somewhere? And I guess I'll throw in here that Dick Cheney's bragging about ordering torture on television right now.
Well, Durham, I know, has brought people before a grand jury and taken testimony. So that suggests that there's going to be an indictment, at least one indictment. I think the grand jury testimony that was taken, and of course all this is secret, we don't know too much detail about it, has to do with the tapes case in which CIA tapes were destroyed. But I know that the investigation, the preliminary review he's taking up, was supposed to have been concluded in 6 months. It's gone, to the end of that period now. He doesn't appear to be close to rendering a report. That suggests he's going to seek an extension, and it's time to complete his report. And that suggests this is going somewhere, that there will be some charges of some sort brought. It looks to me like something likely is going to come out of it, but we don't know what. And I would say the way he's conducting this is very professional, because I am not, even though I try very hard, I'm not able to learn much about it.
Yeah. Well, you keep trying, because I want to know everything that you know about it, because, I don't know why it is I want so badly to believe in this whole rule of law thing, but maybe it's just I'd like to see Dick Cheney in the dock because of the crimes he committed were actually, violations of the natural moral law in all the ways that I do believe in, but, it sure would be nice to think that there's actually such a thing as a prosecutor independent enough that he could actually indict the vice president at least, and cabinet officials, their lawyers. I mean, because what they've done here, as we've talked about many times on this show, is the worst sort of criminal behavior. Tying people up where they're helpless and doing the very worst things to them, including all the way to death, Scott.
Well, you're right. I have to say, watching Dick Cheney appear on this week on the ABC, I kept seeing Ernst Blofeld from the James Bond movies there. I think we all just need to collect and buy him a Persian cat. I think he'd make a perfect Blofeld.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, thanks very much for all your work and your time again on the show today, Scott.
Okay, really great to be with you. Take care.
All right, everybody. That is the other Scott Horton, heroic international anti-torture human rights lawyer, legal affairs correspondent at Harpers Magazine, keeper of the blog No Comment, and author of the article The Guantanamo Suicides. On the newsstand right now in Harper's Magazine and at their website, harpers.org. And we'll be right back